Okay, we're recording.
Hooray!
This is the review for Dune Part 2 that we saw at IMAX. What was it, Saturday?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday.
Had to stay off of social media for a couple days because
Yes.
the reviews started coming in very quickly at a very high volume.
Very, very quickly. What was the last IMAX we did? Napoleon?
Yes, we saw Napoleon.
Yeah, it was Napoleon. So this one was shot in 70 millimeter film. So obviously it's a must watch in an IMAX theater.
It's also just such an epic film.
Yeah, usually we go for the epics. Actually, before we started recording these, they were pretty much all just epics. It's like the Star Treks, the Hobbits, I forget what else we saw.
The Godzillas.
Godzillas.
I don't know is that considered an epic? I'm not sure what the exact definition of an epic would be. I don't think I would throw Godzilla in there. I definitely think of like Lord of the Ring-ish kind of films.
I would say
very big set pieces.
Well, epic in nature, I guess.
Yeah. As
well as in scale. So we saw Dune Part 2, and due to the conflicting information and dumbfoundness, we didn't get the best tickets.
Don't get petty.
I'm gonna get petty as much as humanly possible. Today, but the seats weren't totally bad. It was just kind of higher up than we were used to.
They were fine. I've sat up front, like in the front row of IMAX. That's not worth it. That's not great.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. I think the reason why I'm sour about it is because the tickets we had for whatever it was Friday.
Yeah, Friday
were perfect. They were that row right in the middle. We wouldn't have to use any steps at all, and we were on the edge. So literally, if any of us needed to go to the bathroom, you wouldn't interrupt anything.
Although I don't think we've ever gotten up in the middle of an IMAX film. Because I don't get Coke. Usually Coke and popcorn, blah, blah, blah. But when it's an IMAX film, I do not get Coke anymore because I always have to end up pissing by the end of a 3-hour film. And I refuse to let the last 30 minutes of the film get ruined because I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay, but I'm just saying, just in case somebody didn't gauge it right, we could get up. And also for ease. Because I those middle seats, I mean, I don't know for sure. I've never really walked up to them and checked them out, but I think they have a little bit more legroom because they are the middle. So because that's one of the problems I have is we're so cramped up. Nobody was next to Shelby, which was nice, but it was still kind of tough. Though my hip, I guess, would you say ailment, injury, whatever, doesn't bother me as much. So I was actually able to sit for that whole movie without really having to get up or move. Or I think I moved like twice, and that was it. And it wasn't like, oh my God, this is painful. It was just like repositioning because it was kind of achy. So that was nice. But anyway, our showtime was at 7 p.m. We did the In-N-Out as a dinner choice because we did that. What was it? Oh, no, we did that for Napoleon.
It was Napoleon, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that seems to be the favorite. And now we've even gone to the point of maybe we'll just eat in town before we go out there next time if we have time.
Yeah, because that In-N-Out has one of the worst parking lots I've ever seen in my life.
That's true.
It is incredibly tiny for an In-N-Out, especially. The drive-through line is like 7 cars in the middle of the road.
Yes.
That
is true. Though there was plenty of parking when we went the last 2 times. There was plenty of parking the first time. I remember that. And then this time there was, it was just the line to get in was long. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What did you think of the movie?
I loved it. I think it absolutely benefited from the IMAX setting. So like the last film we did, American Fiction, when it came down to like, oh, what's your favorite shot in the film? Didn't really have one for that. But then watching through Dune, I'm like, oh, I have like 5 easily because of the cinematography in this film. I think the first one won cinematography. I think it won the Oscar that year. I think it was like the Given. I think this one's probably going to be another almost Given at this point. Like this movie looked fucking ridiculous. I love watching this film. It was all kinds of fun.
Yeah, I thought it was a little underwhelming when after the first, after seeing it, but I feel like it just suffered from a long runtime. Maybe they could have fine-tuned it and cut some things out, but I mean, it wasn't like I was bored or anything. I remember it was tough for me to get through the first one because we were seeing it at like 9:00.
That was a late night.
And that was a toughie.
It had a lot more exposition going on.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it at all though. Like I felt I cruised through those 3 hours. This one, not the original.
Oh, well, this one I couldn't cruise through because of the constant distractions, which we'll get into at the end of this. But I thought it was good. It looked great. It was a great science fiction epic. It's been a while since we've had one of those big things. That's not Dune Part 1 before anybody's a smart ass. It's been a while since we've had one of those movies. Like the Star Wars or the Jurassic Parks or Worlds.
Man, we have never seen a Star Wars in IMAX.
Well, I mean, I
don't think that's also our fault because they've been looking like shit. The movies, because I mean, a couple qualifications for IMAX. One, the movie has to look like it's going to be good,
yes,
and then it has to appear like it's going to do well in IMAX. The last several Star Wars films have not looked like they were going to be very good, and most of them have not. But hoping that Thrawn movie coming out in the next couple years is really good. I wouldn't mind seeing that one in IMAX. Pending trailers.
Which one?
The one that's gonna have Thrawn.
Oh, I forget what they're gonna call it. Like the culmination of all of the shows.
Yeah. There's a name. There's a book for it. Whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. But yeah, this was probably one of the best meant for IMAX films we've seen as of late. Although Napoleon fit really well as well.
Yeah, so I thought it was good. I had some difficulties with it at first. I'm a little confused at the politics type aspect of it with also the
there's a lot of politics.
The Messiah thing. It's like, okay, so I've watched videos on it since then. I've read up a little bit about it, so I think I kind of get it. It's a little confusing.
I think I've understood it well enough to where I have an idea what's going on with the film and all that good stuff. I'm sure there's a lot more intricacies that I'm just not familiar with. But I think what gets me the more is not so much the politics. It's trying to keep up with all the fucking names. Because the names are just so not English. And they're just kind of out there. And I'm just trying to... Because the prophecy thing has they keep calling them different names, and I'm getting the names mixed up.
So the Bene Gesserit call it the something like the Kesep Hadarak.
Yeah, see, exactly. It's already confusing.
And then the Fremen call it the Muad'Dib,
which is now
Lisana Gaib.
Yeah, see, you're struggling with it.
Yeah, it's a lot, but.
Which has now been thrown onto the internet with an endless number of memes.
Yeah,
already.
the memes are all pretty great, and it's all Stilgar. It's like Paul Atreides farts. It's like that's how the Messiah would fart, which is pretty great. The memes have been pretty fantastic. I'm hooked. But yeah, it was an interesting movie. It was a little more comedic than the first one because of Stilgar and his Messiah talk, which was funny. Every time he did something, he goes, "The Messiah's being generous," or, look how he does it. I forget which part, but there was a moment where he wouldn't do something, and Stilgar was like, "He's too generous. He won't."
Oh, he's so humble.
He's so humble. Yeah,
he won't admit it.
Yeah. So That was pretty great. The introduction to new characters that weren't introduced in the first movie was pretty great. The Fade Ruatha, the Emperor Carino, Florence Pugh as the princess. Who's somebody else was introduced? Oh, Anna Taylor-Joy was um, like a surprise casting. She just suddenly shows up as in a dream sequence. That was pretty great.
I always love those. I always love it when you don't know that those actors are going to show up.
Yeah.
It always makes for great reveals. Seven did that very well. Kevin Spacey was literally never included in any kind of marketing or anything.
Yeah.
And Matt Damon in Interstellar came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
which is great. I love it when they do that. I wish they would do that more often.
Yeah.
Just keep things some secrets. Secrets are great. I love reveals.
Or when they didn't, they kept the villain of Logan from us because he was in the movie the entire time.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I love. So I thought the acting stood out in this movie a lot. I mean, the
cast is insane.
the graphics, the visual effects obviously stand out the most, but I feel like the acting is really the thing to look at. Javier Bardem as Stilgar did great. Rebecca Ferguson as Jessica, you really started to not like her. But as the internet has pointed out, you didn't really care for her, but you like to look at her. Timothy Chalamet does a good, Paul Atreides, much more confident, things like that. Zendaya as Chani, she did great.
Austin Butler, who I just realized was Fade Rotha the entire goddamn time.
Yeah, played a great Fade, and then the other recurring characters like Skarsgård as
the Harkonnen,
the Baron, yeah, and then Batista had very little. Well, no, actually, he had a decent runtime.
He was in there good, but he had he was in very important scenes in terms of building up Austin Butler.
Yeah, and then Lea Seydoux,
Josh Brolin.
The
movie shifted. The mood of the movie shifted once Brolin was reintroduced.
Yeah, that was pretty good. It was nice to see that he lived.
Yeah, because they didn't close that plot at all in the first one. I watched it 2 days before we went, and it was when the Harkonnens came in and invaded on that night, and he went out and started fighting, and then that was it. You never saw him again for the entire movie.
Yeah.
So, but you knew he was alive because he was in the trailers. But and you wouldn't kill off Josh Brolin off screen. That'd be stupid. I say that, and I watched No Country for Old Men last night, where he was killed off screen. But
yeah.
Okay, maybe you do that.
That was anticlimactic. Now thinking back to that, well, it was anticlimactic, but it wasn't you felt cheated, I guess.
Yeah,
it was just that sucks.
It was a very different film.
I'm trying to think of what else there is. The visual effects obviously stole the show. Like I said, I preferred the acting aspect of it. It seems like every time we go to these movies, I try to think, okay, I know this is going to stand out like this in the visual effects. So I want to pay attention to the acting. How good's the acting? Or if it's I know it's an all-star cast, or I know it's an actor I love. What's the I pay more attention to maybe dialogue or set design or things like that. Or if you watch something like Transformers, it's you just want to watch the visual effects and not.
Yeah, you go in understanding the story is probably going to be diluted from the comic books. The acting is not going to be very good, but it's going to look really cool.
Right.
Hopefully.
So that was an interesting aspect to it, but I really did like the lore building. We got to see the Harkonnen homeworld during the day, which I found out was shot by infrared. It's camera trickery.
Is that how they did that?
Yeah,
look to
it's
it?
infrared, and they turned the contrast all the way up or something.
Interesting.
It's a trick that the cinematographer learned doing a different movie. He had done it once before, and this time he was like, "Well, I mean, you could try it again."
I'll tell you what, there was something that didn't catch my eye that I was very noticeable a few times. Um, there would be a scene in the dark, and then it would go outside in the fucking dunes of the sand desert, and it was like, oh my god, my fucking eyes hurt immediately because of how bright it got. I think it did it like 3 times.
Oh yeah, I
Like
think I remember what
three
you're
or
talking
four
about, yeah.
times. There was a lot of from very dark to very bright right away. I think that
Yeah.
might be the only thing I can complain about with the visuals of the film.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something about that. Or I remember those parts.
And then the well, I don't want to say unsung hero, everyone understands it, but the soundtrack, of course, is the score.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good.
As
Like,
far
thank
as
you,
I'm-
Hans Zimmer.
As far as I'm concerned, and this is because this is technically the first movie we've seen that's going to be a part of the Oscars next year because it missed the window.
It missed the window.
I feel like it's cheating because it's the first movie we saw of that run, but it's probably going to get nominated for everything.
Yeah, it'll get nominated for visual
Cinematography.
effects, sound mixing,
Yeah.
cinematography,
Sound editing, which we always get confused.
Yeah, I'm sure some would somebody get lead actor, supporting actor, actress?
I feel like if anything, and we don't know a lot that's coming out this year. Like we have those movies we've heard about
yeah,
that we would look forward to. We have the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We will probably get bored and see Godzilla.
yeah. I mean, it's super hard to pull an Oscar out of Planet of the Apes.
I know that, but what I'm saying is, we have these movies we know about, we know that are coming out, but then it's not until maybe you're probably better to comment on this. I'm usually the one that messages you a trailer or says something along the lines of, "Can we check this out?"
and then I always say
And then
yes.
that's like the Oscar darling. What?
Then I always say yes. We can watch this.
Yeah. So it was me with the holdover. I'm not saying it goes all to my credit.
Oh, you
signed off.
You
on
definitely
them.
made holdovers happen because I had no idea what that was going into it.
Well, what's funny was we saw that trailer when we saw whatever we saw earlier last year in IMAX. I don't remember what it was. Oppenheimer, I think.
Probably Oppenheimer.
Yeah, and we saw that trailer and I was like, "Oh, this looks kind of neat." And it's from the guy who did Sideways, which I love Sideways. So I was like, I checked this out, and it had like a cool little beat to it. And then now I'm like utterly obsessed with that film. So, yeah, but like I was getting back to my point though, is usually it's like a month or two out where we start to pay attention to, oh, there's an Oscars darling, I guess you could say, or oh, this is going to be one of those under the radar films that then is no longer under the radar when it comes out.
Yeah, I think
It's
Power of the Dog did that a few years back.
It's kind of like like we said, the holdovers, but like your Iron Claws, which should have been nominated for something, in my opinion.
Multiple things.
I was trying to be humble or modest.
Zac Efron got robbed.
He really did.
Snubbed. That's
He
the word.
really, really did. But that, and I'm trying to think of like what else came out this year that was like that movie, but I can't think of one.
I would say Across the Spider-Verse not getting nominated for Best Picture, but fuck me.
Yeah, well, it's nominated. I mean, it's an animated film.
Watch the movie, you'll understand.
I haven't seen either of them. I know I do. I need to, but it's animated movies are automatically at a disadvantage.
No, I mean, so we're up until they're not, because not animated. International films used to have no shot at it, and then Parasite broke that ceiling. It just takes a film. Sometimes Black Panther of all things was the one that kind of broke through with comic book films.
Well, that's because they expanded it that year.
They came up with a reason to include it.
Yeah, it was. They went from whatever it was, 5 movies to 8.
This should have been the year for the animated films, but I guess not. Maybe next time. Maybe when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out.
Yeah, but like everything stood out. Like I feel like the only thing that's gonna take Dune as cinematography, even remotely, would be maybe Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or
Nomadland 2.
maybe Furiosa.
Ooh, maybe.
which is my
Almost
my pick for the
almost
next.
too similar of a set piece though. Or
That's true.
yeah, that might actually get screwed by that.
Which is low key our next
Yeah.
possible thing, because I think Brian signed off on that, but
was
not
totally down
Kingdom of
with
the
it.
Planet of the Apes.
Actually, the more I see the trailers and stuff, the more I'm into it. The one it kills me because I almost want to say Godzilla and Kong looks like it's gonna be shit, but it's how do you not want to see an IMAX film with Godzilla? And
Well, like I said,
Kong?
why don't we take our asses to Cinemark down the street and see it at their IMAX? They have an IMAX.
That's right. We keep saying that, and then I keep
Because
forgetting.
we want to try all the theaters nearby. And
Yeah,
So
we'll make it work.
we'll make it work. I will gladly do that, or if it's like a last minute thing, do it at Edwards right here.
Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of like Oscar stuff, I think the thing that's gonna hurt like people getting best actors, supporting actress, and all that stuff is the fact that everyone in this movie is so fucking good at their roles.
Yes.
It's hard to get a standout because everyone is just perfectly casted.
Yeah, like I said, I think Timothy could get nominated for Best Actor, but I have to be honest. I think literally anybody in that film could get nominated for supporting.
Yeah,
And that's
I really
leading with Bardem and Rebecca. I think Rebecca is a easy choice for supporting.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah. What else did I want to mention about the film? Like the action pieces were great. The battle scenes were awesome. The callbacks, those were cool. The presentation of the newer characters, that was good. Didn't know if I was supposed to hate Florence Pugh's princess or like her. It seems like I was supposed to dislike her.
I think that's to be determined. I think you're meant to be neutral at this point. Again, having not read the books or anything like that, I have no idea where this story is going. It is interesting to see. I feel like a story can go anywhere at this point. The
Really could.
everything really shifted in the second half of that movie. But I love that it keeps you on your feet.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? I forget. It's just this needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible, I think. I saw a video earlier of Josh Brolin like during an interview just saying seeing it at IMAX like 5 times in a row.
I mean, if you don't see this on a big screen, you're just doing a disservice to the film.
Yeah. So
Go spend your goddamn money.
yeah. With that being said, I guess I'll get into the rant part of the episode, which I really was hoping I wouldn't do with the first movie post
It's nothing we haven't heard
the
before.
Oscar.
It was not as bad as Cat Guy.
I don't know. This was close. This was close because of her reaction. So
I didn't get to hear her reaction.
The story goes, it's us three. I usually sit in the middle between Brian and my partner Shelby because, for one, we can all share the popcorn. No one's complaining. If God forbid anybody wants to ask something, I'm right there, or comment on something. Respectfully, I'm right there. There was a moment near the beginning where a gentleman in front of us was checking his phone, and he wasn't being coy about it. So he did it, I want to say like 2 or 3 times, and the last time I was like, he was pulling up his jacket pocket, and what I can't and don't understand, whether that makes sense or not, is he had a jacket on and he was pulling out his phone, texting or scrolling, I should say. No one texted him. It's kind of pathetic when you keep checking your phone. No one's fucking talking to you. He kept checking it and he used his jacket to like blanket the phone from the fucking screen. And it's like, you're blocked. What do you think the fucking giant silver screen in front of us is going to stop because it sees the glow from your phone or something. It's so wild to me. And so I finally said, hey, can you put your phone away? And he didn't do it the whole rest of the time. Now, I do want to say, I usually give people 2 or 3 chances. Typically, it's 3. Because I'll tell you why.
Three's
I'm
enough.
such a baseball nerd that the first time, okay. Second time's maybe a coincidence. Third time you're doing it on purpose, you struck out.
Wait, what's the baseball game? Oh, okay, okay. Hey, you quit it. I was like, wait, where's the baseball?
I think Griffin is
here?
agreeing with me. So he didn't check his phone for the rest of the movie. I really appreciate him for doing that. And I wasn't a jerk. I just said, hey, can you not check your phone? That's all I said. Was my tone a little pissy? Probably, because we were in the middle of fucking exposition, and those movies are already hard to understand sometimes. So I wanted to get everything. So there was a girl 2 seats next to Shelby to my right. There was nobody between her and Shelby. That seat, I guess, didn't sell. Which was weird, because I could have sworn I saw a guy sit there when the movie started. But anyway, she continuously checked her phone, and she was doing this thing, which I feel like it's the newer generation that do, where they leave it on their leg, and they either crisscross their legs or they, hike a leg up or whatever, and then they lift it up like they're checking their cards at a 21 table, and then they put it down. Or God forbid, they see something that they want to respond to, and then they respond to it, which is annoying. She didn't have her brightness down. What's weird to me was she had it down at one point. I saw the guy in front of me turn it down, and I could have sworn I saw her pull up, because the iPhones are very distinct. I could have sworn I saw her brightness bar and her turn it down. But now that I think about it, I don't think she turned it down all that much. But for whatever reason, whenever she pulled it out, it was no longer dim. So she did this, I want to say 4 or 5 times. God bless Shelby. She doesn't want confrontation or me to get pissy, but she needs to understand, and I'm sure she does, that my experience is intertwined with you two. Not so much you, because no matter what I do, short of jumping out of my seat and drop kicking the guy in front of me,
I don't care.
You don't care.
No.
And I know that. But with Shelby, it's like I want her to grasp everything, and I don't want it to bother her. And I know in the past there's been times where either the way I've been sitting, especially if it's at the Roxy Theater with the recliners, or even Edwards or the AMC or whatever, there's times where I lean back and I don't see what's happening on the sides of me, because either I'm looking at you, or she's got 6 layers on because she brought 3 blankets, a sweatshirt, and a sweater, and I don't see on either side of them. So, but I saw this lady check her phone. She had to be younger than me. Constantly, like I said, 4 or 5 times. I turned towards Shelby to say something while she did it I think the 4th time, and she got in my way, like blocking me with her head and telling me like no, and she like patted me on the chest and was like no, like you're fine, which I can't stand, because that's like the equivalent of
It's like, no, bitch, she's not fine.
Somebody on a basketball court telling me to calm down after somebody fouled me or something. Brings back terrible memories. But she pulled it out the 5th time, and I knew there was gonna be a 5th time. So excuse me for my dog barking. He's playing. I knew she was gonna pull it out a 5th time. I absolutely knew it was coming. I had taken out a chocolate covered raisin, or what I think is a chocolate. It might have been a brownie bite. I have no idea. And when she did it, I leaned forward, tossed it over Shelby, and hit her like right on the thigh. And she looked at me and was like, she said something, I didn't hear it. She like shocked. She kind of like sat up straight and like leaned towards my direction and said something. I don't know what she said. Shelby tells me when the movie ends that she said, "You can't do that." Now, when the movie ended, I was waiting for her to come over and say something.
No, they always leave right away.
They always leave right
always
away.
leave.
And I know what it is. It's either for two reasons. One, the lights come on and they see me and they think, okay, well, I don't want to mess with that, which is actually on them because, to be completely honest with you, I don't like confrontation and will avoid it as much as possible. Or two,
They know they're on the wrong.
they know they're in the wrong, and by the time the lights turn on, they just want to get out because they're embarrassed. Also, I threw that chocolate thing at her, and I did the, like, cutthroat, like, hey, cut it out, not the threatening,
Not the die bitch.
not the I'm coming after you, finger to throat thing, but it was more like the waving the hand in a cutting motion in front of my neck type deal.
Why would I put my fingers to his throat?
Yeah, highly ironic it was during a Dave Bautista film. But it's led me to, once again, ask the question, why on earth are you paying for that ticket and then using your phone? Now, there was a video I found on social media of somebody playing some kind of game on their phone during a showing of Dune Part 2.
Oh my god.
And I don't understand. I get, hey, this isn't really my movie. I don't understand it. Whatever. Why would you pull out your phone? Why wouldn't you just get up and leave? I don't care if you're with friends. It's not your jam. Leave. Or God forbid, if you do want to be that person,
Just fall asleep.
get up. Yeah, get up. Find a seat in the very back. It's one of the reasons why we don't sit in the back anymore, is because there's so many people on their phone in front of me.
Yeah, doing other things.
Yeah, that too. And it's just so incredibly exhausting. You go to these movies, and I have to try and understand. And everybody always tells me, "Well, maybe they were waiting for an important text message or phone call."
No, they don't go to the movies.
Don't go to the movies. I don't care if it's like your babysitter. Like if it's your babysitter, get up, go to the hallway, and answer the phone or look at the text. Or do what I do. I've done this on occasion even recently. When you go to the movies and you know you have to check your phone, bring a baggy ass sweatshirt, throw it, tuck your head into it like you're going to sneeze, and check your phone. Yeah. Nobody's going to see it if you do that. Brian's demonstrating right now.
I was my eyes for the record, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's that same concept. It's the, hey, I got something in my shirt, look down or whatever. So anyway, rant over because I don't want this episode to be an hour long. And I'm sure I'll record something about it later because I'm still fuming. But yeah, it didn't ruin my experience at all, but it does bug me that there is bits of that movie I missed because somebody was selfish enough to keep checking their phone. And I just can't believe somebody told me, "Hey, you can't do that."
Yeah,
I can't do that because you can't do that. Anyway, we want to get to our rating?
We can do our ratings.
Okay, we're going to do our rating. Favorite scene?
Oh, favorite scene. Oh, there's a lot. I'll be honest, I really like the introduction of Fade Ratha.
Okay.
In the Coliseum.
Yes.
Because it was again, like you said, it was like an infrared trick with it all.
Yeah.
But it was like a very different set piece than the rest of the film.
Right.
And it was just really cool. I really love that whole sequence.
I can't think of one. There's too many.
Okay, I was gonna.
I liked the parts where the scenes where they were screwing with the Harkonnens that kept taking their ships down and stuff. That was pretty cool. You know what scene that I thought was pretty underrated? Now, of course, all the acting scenes, those are great, but I save those really for dialogue. A part I really enjoyed that was really simple and maybe a toss-away scene was Gurney trying to protect that one spice collector, which I guess is an independent spice collector or whatever.
They
weren't Harkonnens.
It was a smuggler or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And he was like, hey, he saw something in the sand move, and it was a mine, and they're like these big board looking mines that like are attracted to metal and they just prop up.
Yeah, they're
and then
giant
they float over.
magnetic plates.
Yeah, and it was pretty dope because it like they kept popping up and they kept seeing them from a distance.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. But other than that, it would probably be the final battle scene. That was pretty sick. I just like to point out low key cool scenes like that. Dialogue. Your favorite line.
Ooh. This one might take a little thinking. It was a very long ass movie. Do you have one ready?
Not really. I was just gonna say something from Stilgar talking about how he's being
One of the meme scenes.
like the meme-tastic scenes. I would either pick one of those or shit. Oh no, I got it. I got it right here. And this could be a favorite scene too. There are so many good lines in it and rich dialogue and all those things. But the scene where Paul is confronting the Emperor and then that Bene Gesserit lady says, think about what you're about to do, Paul Atreides. And he does the
a voice and just like pushes her back.
He says silence, which is a parallel to the part one, where he had his hand in the box, the torture box.
Oh yeah, he was gonna, and then she just like
and she said silence, and he's kind of timid or whatever, so he didn't really say anything. Yeah, so that was my favorite line. I love that line. Also love the
that is a really good choice.
May thy knife chip and shatter, and he does the salute that Duncan Idaho did. And then Fade Ruatha, which this is also being turned into a lot of memes, and it's pretty great. I saved a bunch of them. He says it back as like to kind of throw it back in his face. He's like, "May thy knife chip and shatter." Like, it sounded at the time I thought of it more of he said it to be like a dick, like he's like, "You're gonna die, so may my whatever." But then like Twitter has turned that into like more nuanced or fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So there was one I read where it was somebody saying, Fade Ruatha said that thinking, that is such a bitchin' line. I can't wait to use this when I kill you. And then got really sad when he was dying thinking, oh man, I can't say it now. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Paul had a really good, like, it was almost like a speech at some point, like before the final battle towards the end of the film, where it was like a very different vibe of the character up until that point. Like, because his character got like a lot more like confident and like aggressive and stuff towards the end of the film. And it was like a really important moment there of like what to expect if that raid goes well.
Right.
There was a lot of strong dialogue there. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to pin through a 3-hour film and pick out the one dialogue scene, but yeah, it is what it is. Favorite shot?
Yeah, shot is the last one. I'm not going in any order. I know I screwed it up.
Yeah, there's a lot. Probably at the end when all the fucking sandworms kind of burst out. And you got like a good look of. I think there was a scene. I think it's even in the trailers where you have like 3 of the sandworms like coming at the army and stuff.
Yes,
that was pretty sick.
So that reminded me of a scene that I probably would have picked for favorite scene or line, where I guess one of Paul's tests is he has to call on a sandworm and mount it.
Yeah.
And so he calls one, and then I guess there's a trick where you want to set the thumper lower down on a dune. And so he does that. And then you see the worm sign, which is them, burrowing, coming at you or whatever. And it shows up and it like kind of barrels through the mountain. Cause it's like they're looking over this horizon, which is obviously like this huge dune.
Yeah.
And this dune then bursts with this worm that you could see the trail coming at it. And Stilgar says, "Not that big." That was pretty great. But the shot, I would probably have to say, there was a really cool shot of the Emperor's ship showing up.
Oh yeah, and just kind of chilling over that
and
like temple.
it goes from in the background up and centers on screen, and I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah,
There's plenty of shots
there's
I could pick.
Yeah, there's.
It's just that one looks so cool because the attention to detail on the ship's hull because it's shiny.
Yeah,
And you can see the ground and everything.
there's Paul just kind of standing watching the atomic blast go off. That was a really cool scene. Again,
Yeah.
another one kind of spoiled by the trailers.
Yeah.
Again, stop fucking spoiling shit in the trailers, please.
Yeah.
This movie had enough hype going on around it. You did not need to spoil things with the goddamn trailer.
Yeah.
Chill.
That does suck. I hate it when they do that. Anyway, do we want to do the score?
Yeah.
What do you got for it?
I think I'm gonna be a little higher than you. I'm gonna give it a 47. I love the shit out of this movie.
Okay, I put 45. The reason why I put 45 is I'm trying to, as I say every episode, trying to fine tune my rating system. I'm thinking of it like knocking down 1 point for each thing I have an issue with, but I think more so it's knocking off a point for not just issues, but things I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I pay enough attention, I should have gotten it. I gave it a 45 because the beginning, it picked up right where the last one left off. And even though I read that, I was very confused that was Jamis in that rap. And then I was confused at why they were stabbing all the Harkonnens and pumping them. And I found, that's the water. Because they had talked about that in the first one.
Yeah, they always
it.
allude to it, but they never really mention like,
Right.
yeah, don't waste your water, bitch.
So now that I've had that cleared up, I actually think, that's really interesting. So realistically, I shouldn't use that as a knock against it, but I'm going to do it because at the time I did not understand it.
Well, because look, if you needed a moment to understand it, general audience, plenty of people are not going to understand it. They're going to walk out of the film not knowing it.
And I mean, I kind of understood it it was just a little confusing.
Being able to make the movie easy to understand for the general audience is part of the filmmaking.
Right. And the other problems I had were, one, what was the purpose of having Sidhu's character get pregnant by Fade? I didn't understand. Like, if there's a part 3 and that's a part of it, I guess.
I imagine that was some Game of Thrones shit.
I assume that too, but I didn't understand why that didn't pay off in some way.
Well, because
they just said, I'm having his son.
Yeah, you know what, you're right. It could be
why? Why do you need to have? Was that ever made apparent? Am I missing something?
No, it might just be a seed planted for later.
Literally. And then, like, what was the deal with Baron not drugging that one guy? Was that because he really wanted his nephew to be tested?
Yeah, kind of that thing.
Okay.
Because his nephew's a fucking psycho.
Okay. So that part I didn't really knock against it, but another thing I knocked on it was the back and forth between what Jessica was up to and what Paul was doing. It was kind of hard because it was like 1 second you're following Jessica, then you're following, you're following Paul, and then it was back and forth, and then it was seriously confusing because it was like they're sending Jessica to the northern continent
the
southern continent to rouse soldiers or something, and it was just like. It was just weird to me. It was confusing.
Well, I think it was more so because like there's all these Fremen down there that exist, and they all believe in that prophecy kind of a thing, and she's like proof of that I just smacked the mic. She's like proof of that prophecy. So you bring her down there, everyone's like, oh shit, it's kind of real, it's happening kind of a thing, And then they're like, yeah, let's go fucking do some shit up north and take the shit back because they needed numbers, like they needed an army kind of a thing. Because there's plenty of action to come. And you're gonna need all those people, all those fighters available for the upcoming conflict.
Yeah, so there was just some minor things I knocked on it.
No, I understand.
And the runtime is not obviously knock on it. Because though
I'm not knocking it for the runtime.
I know you're not knocking it for the runtime, but for me it was pushing it. It was pushing it just a little bit. So
see, I think the big difference between like this and Oppenheimer for me is that the ending of this movie had the big battle, the one-on-one going action, the fight and all that stuff, and all that was at the end, as opposed to Oppenheimer where the Trinity test happened 2.5 hours in, and that was like that's a climax. That's the coolest shit, and then it went on for another hour.
Yeah, okay, I can get that. Yeah,
because it reset. Well, it didn't. Never, it didn't reset. It had build up, and then once the build up is gone, then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go home now.
Yeah,
I saw what I wanted to see.
I can understand that.
I'm glad the cliffhanger wasn't like unbearable to deal with. They left it on a very it was a closed story enough where I'm not upset that I didn't see something happen or I need to see something else.
Yeah, it's understandable.
So yeah, 47.
It's pretty high.
It is really high.
We're always pretty close unless it's like drastically. It's either really close or drastic. Seems.
Yeah, it usually comes with the bad films. I think the furthest apart we ever were was probably John Wick 4.
Why? Because I hated it.
You gave it like a 20 something. I think I gave it like a high 30s. I think a mid 30s to like a low 20s. Garbage. I mean, the movie was shit, but it was wildly entertaining.
I mean, it was entertaining, but it was entertaining almost like a joke.
It was absurdly over the top.
It was just, I don't even want to get into it. Okay, so that does it for our episode on Dune Part 2. Stay tuned for our Oscars episode.